What's up, y'all? It's your boy Big Steve back at it again, and today I'll be showing you guys my Blood Necromancer on Diablo 4 and how it's been going for me. And I'm gonna try to go a little bit more in depth and the changes I made to my previous video. So I'll show you guys a bit of gameplay footage, and then I'll dive into the items, stats, Paragon board, etc. So let's dive in. And in my last video, I think I was level 67, and I think I told you guys I was my highest crit was around 200,000. Well, I'm level 79, over halfway to 80, and my highest crit today is a little over 700,000. Now, I don't always hit for 700,000. That's a pretty high crit, but on average, I'm always hitting for about 300 to maybe even 500 or 600,000. I'll show you a bit of gameplay footage about that, and we'll go from there.
Ready yet.
Why are we always the ones who get lost?
I need more time. Time. I'm low on essence. Ready yet.
So as you guys can see, I'm still working on it, still pumping out the damage, doing tier 44 at level 79, which ain't bad at all. I see some level 88 still doing tier 40s to 50s. So I think it does pretty well. Necromancer in general is pretty squishy. You do have to watch it. But right now I'm going to go over the items and talents and my Paragon boards and tell you why I use what skills I use and why I use the legendary aspects I use. Now, things you could change that you want to use. There just are some important ones in here. I'll quickly go over my character stat info. As of right now, critical strike chance at 40%, so that's really high, and that's without any skills that add crit chance, because the Bone Storm will add crit chance, and the Corpse Tendrils will add a lot of crit chance. Critical strike damage is at 289%, and overpower damage is at 1300%, so they're pretty high. Mainly this build is all about critical strike chance, crit damage, and overpower damage. Now, if you want, you can go with Fortify. Fortify scales with overpower, I do believe. That's up to you. I went a different way, but this is just to give you guys a good general direction of Blood Surge. So we're going to dive into my talents. Let's go to the skill tree. Alright, I'm going to go over this quickly. I went with Hemorrhage. I put 5 points into it because you do use this sometimes to get your essence back. I have made a change where you don't really lose a whole lot of essence, and if you do, you get it back pretty quick. But 5 points in the Hemorrhage. We take Enhanced Hemorrhage, and then we take Acolytes Hemorrhage for the 20% additional attack speed while healthy. Then we're going to come down here, core skills. We're going to take Blood Surge. We max this out, and if you can get any items with plus Blood Surge, usually better to go that way. And then we put 1 point into Enhanced Blood Surge, and this allows you to steal health depending on how many enemies are inside the Blood Surge. And then we took Paranormal Blood Surge. For every time, 6th time you cast this, you get an automatic overpower. And we also took Unliving Energy for more essence, and Imperfectly Balanced for core skills cost 9% more essence but deal 15% more damage. Then we're going to come down here, 1 point into Blood Mist, and then a point into Enhanced Blood Mist, and then we take Ghastly Blood Mist. And we take this because every 1 second, Blood Mist leaves a corpse, which is very important. It's a good way to generate corpses quick, which comes in handy for your Corpse Tendrils. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. I just had a random point I put in the Grimmed Harvest. Consuming a corpse generates 2 essence. Blood Surge has a high essence cost, so getting your essence back quick as possible is one of the main things. Then we're going to come down here and put 1 point into Iron Maiden, and then we're going to take Enhanced Iron Maiden. So every time you cast the Iron Maiden, depending on how many enemies are inside the curse, you'll gain a certain amount of essence back per enemy. And since we're using Iron Maiden a lot, we also take Amplify Damage. You deal 18% increased damage to cursed enemies. Now mine is 6 out of 3. I think 3 out of 3 is 12%, maybe 9. I also took Death's Embrace. Close enemies take 6% more damage from you and deal 9% less. So that's huge. It's 9% damage reduction. And we took Death's Reach. You deal 12% increase to distant enemies. And we're going to come down here to your blood talents. Gruesome Mending. While below 50% life, you receive 30% more healing from all sources. Then we took Coalesced Blood. While healthy, your blood skills deal 18% increased damage. That's a huge one. And I put 1 point in Drain Vitality. That's totally up to you. And then I put 3 into Tides of Blood. Your blood skills deal 15% increased overpower damage. This bonus is doubled while you're healthy. So if you're at full max health or 80% or above, it's a 30% increase. So that's huge. And then we put 1 point into corpse tendrils, and then enhanced corpse tendrils, and then we put 1 into plagued corpse tendrils. And then what this does is it makes the enemies vulnerable. This helps a lot, so having this talent is pretty important. And the enhanced helps too, because it causes a 50% slow, which I'll get into later. And it also causes a 3-second stun. Then we come down here, we put 1 point into Bone Storm, 1 point into Prime Bone Storm. This gives you 15% damage reduction while active, and this gives you a 20% increased critical strike chance while active. So right now I got 40%. When I pop this, I have 60% critical strike chance. Then we put 3 into standalone. Increased damage reduction by 18%, reduced by 2% for each active minion. But we're not using minions. And then I took Memento Mori. Sacrificing both skeleton warriors and mages increases their sacrifice bonuses by 60%. This is huge. And we also take the legendary aspect for the percent sacrifice, which I'll show to you later. And we come down here and we take Rathma's Vigor. Increases your maximum life by 10%. After being healthy for 15 seconds, your next blood skill overpowers. So between your Rathma's Vigor and your Blood Surge's paranormal talent, you have 2 automatically overpower. And that's pretty well it for the talents. I'll quickly go over the Book of Dead. For the Skeleton Warriors, I took your critical strike chances increased by 6%. I did sacrifice all of them. That's for Warriors. Mages, I took your overpower damages increased by 49%, but you can no longer raise Skeletal Mages. And I also sacrificed the Golem, and you deal 37% increased critical strike damage, but you lose the ability to summon the Golem. And that's pretty well it for the talents, and I'll go over the items. Alright, so let's go over the items. For my helmet, I went with the legendary aspect. Enemies afflicted by your Iron Maiden have a 22% chance to be stunned for 1 second. Now, I have a glyph in my Paragon board that affects the enemies that are slowed or stunned. That's what I was talking about earlier with the corpse tendrils. It does a 50% slow and a stun. And this also helps out too, because the enemies do get stunned by this a lot. And mainly I went with life and maximum essence is what you want on the helmet. Overall, since blood surge costs so much essence, you want maximum essence and essence reduction. Let's see, I got resource. Okay, essence cost reduction. I have it here on my amulet for 23.7%. There's some things you want to look out for. Mainly, you want life, essence, and intelligence is an okay stat. I would take probably dexterity over intelligence for the critical strike chance, or willpower would be your #1 stat. This adds overpower damage. So if you can get willpower and maximum essence or essence reduction, that's kind of the way you want to go. Okay. And for the armor, I went with the you get a full immune bubble for 3 seconds. That's just for defensive. You could totally go your way on this one. That's up to you. For the gloves, I went with your sacrifice bonuses are increased by 22%. So I sacrificed my skeletons and my golem. So all their sacrifice bonuses are increased by 22%. It's pretty big. It adds a lot of damage overall to your overpower damage and your critical strike chance. And for the pants, I'm using Temerity. Mainly what this is for, it creates a barrier for me. Comes in handy sometimes. Right now it's only 64%. I'd like to get one closer to the 80%. It would help out a lot. And for the boots, I'm using the Patient Greaves. And what this does is you leave behind a trail of frost that chills enemies. You deal 8% more damage to chilled enemies. Now chill also slows enemies or freezes them. Like I said, I have a glyph in my Paragon board that adds more damage to slowed or stunned enemies. I think it's 10% to slowed enemies, and if they're stunned, it's 20%. I'll go over that later. And in the weapon, I use the Blood Surges, Nova, Echoes again after a short delay. And I put this in the weapon because this is where you're going to get your second Nova. It's going to only deal 35% less damage because it's in the weapon. The lowest you can get is 30. That would be ideal. And for the amulet, this is one of the main part of the builds. What I have here in the weapon and what I have here in the amulet are pretty big parts of the build. Now what this legendary power does is gain 30% increased critical strike chance for 6 seconds when you cast Corpse Tendrils. You deal 90% increased bonus critical strike damage to enemies damaged by Corpse Tendrils. So that is 30% critical strike chance and 90% critical strike damage. This is huge. So Corpse Tendril is a CC. It brings them in, stuns them for 3 seconds. Also applies a slow. So with this and my glyph added to it, there's a lot of big damage. This is how you pump out most of your damage. You do the Corpse Tendrils. Then you pop Bone Storm for the 20% critical strike chance. So you get 20 there. I'm already at 40, so that's 60. And then you get another 30. So I have a 90% critical strike chance when all this is going on. And for the ring, this is another important one. Actually only using a regular ring here because I've had trouble coming across this imprint. Gain 16 of your primary resource for every 25% of your life that you heal. So a lot of times you're getting damaged and you use a lot of potions, and I'm going to tell you why you use a lot of potions is for this effect on this ring. Each percent of your maximum life you heal beyond 100% grants you 0.5% bonus overpower damage on your next overpowering attack, up to 60%. So I'll show you guys down here. It's at 24 right now. I'll use a potion. 42, 50, 58. It starts going up. You get the idea. And that's pretty well it for items. Like I said, most important ones would be the Blood Surge on the weapon, the Corpse Tendrils on the amulet. Now you could do it vice versa. You could put the Blood Surge on the amulet and the Corpse Tendril imprint on the weapon for the most effect. That's totally up to you. And having the resource ring, I find this helps a lot. I don't really run low on essence a lot. I'm constantly going. And this ring effect here is pretty good. So I would stick to those things mainly. And that's it for the weapons and items. We'll jump into the Paragon board. Now, I've been doing the Paragon board as I go. Later I will be doing a bit more experimenting with this. But starting out, I went up the right side. I took the rare node for 20% damage, called Prime. And then we go up this way, and then you go up towards the middle, and then I took the Dominate glyph. And what this does, whenever you overpower an enemy, all damage they take from you and your minions is increased by 12% for 5 seconds. Now, for any willpower node in this area, adds overpower damage, as you can see. So the total overpower damage I get from all my willpower nodes from in this area is 222% overpower damage. There are ways of getting more, fooling around using different boards and stuff. It's something I'm still experimenting with, but as of right now, this is the way I'm going. And then I come up the left and I took all these here, 5% damage, 7 willpower, 5% damage, 7 willpower, and then I took the rare node Knowledge for 20% damage and the 10 intelligence. And then we went right up and we went to the next board. Now, the next one I took was the legendary node of Bloodbath. Attacks that are guaranteed to overpower, so you have 2 of them, deal 50% increased overpower damage. So that's just an overpower damage boost in general. I do believe I rotated this board. So what I did is I came straight up and I come over this way and I took this blue node here for 15% overpower damage. And then I went up, took this node, and then I took the rare node Powerhouse for 25% damage while healthy, plus 30% overpower damage for the and for the other effect is 12.5% damage while healthy if requirements are met. And then I went up towards the middle and got the legendary node. And then we come back down this way, and I go straight up, and then I crossed over and got my glyph. Now, this glyph is Essence. For every 5 dexterity purchased within range, core skills deal 7.5% increased critical strike damage. So, for all the dexterity nodes in the range, I have a total of 52.7% critical strike damage with the core skills. And it also has the effect critical strikes deal 22% increased damage to enemies that are not healthy. So that's a pretty big one. It helps with your critical strike damage is the main thing. And after we took all the nodes around with dexterity, we come up here and we go over and we went over to our next board. And I took the legendary node Scent of Death. With at least 2 corpses nearby, you gain 15% damage reduction. With no corpses nearby, you deal 15% increased damage. Now, I believe I rotated this board around as well. And what I did starting out, I came over this way, came up here. I got this rare node because that's 30% critical strike damage. And the other benefit is another 15% critical strike damage if the requirements are met. So that's 45% critical strike damage on that rare node alone. And then we come over here, and I went straight over, and then I come up, and then I got the legendary node. And then after that, I started to come back down here, and I went over to this glyph. Now this is the glyph I was talking about for slowed or stunned enemies. So total, it does 60.2% damage to crowd controlled enemies. So when you use your corpse tendrils or your chilled effects, you and your minions deal 10% increased damage to slowed or chilled enemies, or instead 20% increased damage to stunned or frozen enemies. So when you use your corpse tendrils, they get a 3-second stun. That's when you pump out your damage. That's why this goes so well together. And that's why I think corpse tendril is like one of the best skills for any necromancer build, hands down. And then from there, I came over and got this rare node, 50% damage to injured enemies, and 10 intelligence. And from my glyph, where you need intelligence nodes, I get more damage to crowd control enemies from this rare node. And then after that, we come back up here and we make our way up here, and we get this rare node Ruin, and we get this one and this one and this one all around. Get these 3 around, and then we come back and we go straight up. And I'm working on my last board here now. I would say it would be my last board, we'll have to see. And then I went with the legendary node Blood Begot's Blood. What this does is blood orbs grant you 5% increased damage up to 15% for 5 seconds. Now, why I went with this board is because I'm going this way. I'm going to come up over here. I'm going to go all the way right. And then I'm going to take this rare node. Gives 60% overpower damage. Plus 10% damage. And if the benefits are met, which they are, you get another 30% increased overpower damage. So that's going to be 90% increased overpower damage. And then after that node, I'm going to come up here, get the legendary node, and then we're going to start back down here and work our way towards the next glyph. And that's pretty well it. That's what I got so far. Like I said, I will be experimenting with the Paragon boards a bit more later. Hope you guys try out the Blood Surge. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Heard a lot of people say blood falls off end game. I'm eager to prove them wrong. I've been getting nothing but stronger and stronger as I go. I'm hitting crit damage higher than some bone necros at this level, at this current time. So I'm going to be sticking with the Blood Surge right up to max level. I'm going to figure it out. For more Diablo IV content, hit the subscribe. And that's it for this video. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.